speak on Mother's Day about mothers. I probably should. I get wrapped up in something and kind of a crazy thing that I've been thinking about all week long, and that is lightning and thunder. We mentioned those last week, or I think the pastor did, and so that's been on my mind. So lightning and thunder, and there's hopefully a great message, not that I'm going to do, but a great thought that will come about at the end of this service here. If you will, let's turn to Psalms 135 and verse 7. Now there's a lot in the Bible in this lesson that I don't understand, so you might have to help me out for sure. Psalms 135 and verse 7. He, that is God, He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh the lightning for the rain. He bringeth the wind out of His treasures. Now, it's kind of I'm not a very scientific person. I'm just not very smart along that line. But it's pretty amazing some of the power of God. If we were to spill or take a glass of water and pour it out on the pavement outside right now, anybody want to volunteer for that? But if we do, I bet when we went out after church, it wouldn't be there. We'd look where we poured the water and we'd go out and we'd say, did somebody come sweep that up? And the answer would be no. God took it back into the heavens. Pretty amazing. This old earth that we're walking upon is pretty amazing, and not because man has anything to do with it, but because of what God has, how He has formed it. Like I said, the vapor, we don't see it. We could go out there and have a puddle of water, and we could watch it, and it might eventually disappear, but we won't see where it went to. So God is pretty. He set this earth up in a pretty amazing way. Now, He brings the lightnings for the rain, and that was the. And it's kind of amazing. I'm going to say it now, and then at the end of maybe when we get done here, I'll say it again. But we can see the lightning take place. The flash in the sky. It shows God's power. They say, and I don't know how we prove it very handily, but it takes 10,000 volts for a spark to go 1 inch. So if we're having a lightning and it comes out of the sky, I don't know. Anybody got a guess how far lightning would go? A mile or two? Anybody got a? I don't know the answer to that. But let's say it would go 2 or 3 miles. The lightning. Think of the power of that bolt of lightning. That's pretty amazing. Something that man cannot duplicate. So we see what God wants done, He does it. Let's turn along the same line. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 10. Jeremiah chapter 10. And we'll start at verse 10. And it says, "But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At His wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide His indignation. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish." Now those are the gods that have not made the earth. They shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He hath made the earth by His power. He hath established the world by His wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by His discretion. When He uttereth His voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of His treasure. You know, there's another thing. This hill that this church is built on always seems to have a little breeze blowing over. In the wintertime, it's kind of chilly. But this weather is very nice. But you know what? We can't see the wind. But we can feel that power. And we can feel God's work at this point in time. So God shows us a lot of things, and yet we don't see all of them. We know how we feel the results, maybe. We might even see the results, but we don't see how it takes place. My point certainly is that God is all powerful. I don't think sometimes we can appreciate it. I'll say it again here. When we hear the thunders and the lightning, first thing that we should do is give praise to the Lord God Almighty. He's in control. You know, man, and oftentimes I think I know something, then I realize how little I do know. Sometimes I think I'm in control, but, you know, most of the time Becky is in control. But she won't admit to that, but she cracks a pretty rough whip. But man sometimes, and I'm certainly including myself in that, we think we're under control, and yet we really are not. We're under God's mercy and His grace. God is in control. There's no doubt about that. Let's turn back to Job, right before Psalms. The book of Job. We'll have to read several verses here, but we'll start in chapter 28 and verse 23. This is Job 28:23. God understandeth the way thereof, and He knoweth the place thereof. For He looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeing under the whole heaven. You know, that statement may not ring a real bell to us, but when He sees under the whole heaven, He's seeing the whole world at the same time. He understands what's going on. He sees it. He knows what's going on. Now, I don't have a clue what's going on in Australia. That's kind of around the world from here. But God does. And He's working things out according to His will. we're not living in an evolutionary world. We're living in a world that was created by the Almighty God. Well, let's see, I lost my place here. It's 23. 25. To make the weight for the winds, and he weigheth the waters by measure. All these things, when we think about weighing the air, I can't fathom how you measure that. Yet God has, and God does. Now the water, I think a gallon of water weighs about 8 pounds. So we can kind of figure out, if we had a 5-gallon bucket, we could say it's roughly 40 pounds of weight. We could measure it out exactly, weigh the bucket, and weigh it full of water, understand the weight. But God already knows all those things. In verse 26, when he made a decree for the rain and a way for the lightning of the thunder. The lightning and the thunder, pretty amazing. I don't know, some people don't like, I know a lot of dogs or pets don't like lightning or thunder. They might be okay with lightning, but the thunder is what gets them. But there is what comes first, the lightning or the thunder, and how does it take place? I guess when lightning comes, it creates a vacuum, and that vacuum is filled with air, and that's the thunder. Am I anywhere close to correct on this? Like I say, I'm not very scientific, so I'm winging this. So, okay, well, we'll assume that that's somewhat correct. So, how does it take place? Well, God is in control of the thunder and the lightning, the wind and the waters. How great God is. That's a tremendous song, a hymn. And when we think about it, how great God is. Here we are, and we think we're in control. We try to salt the clouds to make it rain. That doesn't work very well. The Indians did Indian dances, rain dances, and that didn't help very much either. God is in control. We don't know all the reasons why, but He is in control. Okay, while we're in Job, let's go to chapter 37. A little bit over here, 37. And we'll start at verse 1. At this also my heart trembleth, and is moved out of his place. Hear attentively the noise of his voice, and the sound that goeth out of his mouth. He directeth it under the whole heaven, and is lightning unto the ends of the earth. This is his doing, the lightning, the thunder. Verse 5, God thundereth, and marvelously with his voice, great things doth he, which we cannot comprehend. Now, I can't really comprehend. Now, God is speaking in some fashion through the thunder. Now, we can't really do much comprehending on that. What is he saying? Well, probably one thing that he's saying is, I'm in power. This is my earth. Man often wants to do things his way, his own way, man's way, but that's not going to work out well. It's going to be God's way. You know why? It's like, I guess, raising my kids. I was in charge. Well, Becky was in charge of me, but I was second in command. But I didn't have to offer them. They might say, why? Why can't I go? Or why can't I do this? Or why? Well, because we said so. And that's somewhat how God is. We may ask the question, but He doesn't owe us an answer. We just need to follow His direction. And man has a problem. I keep saying that. A man likes to do things his own way. And we get in trouble when that happens. In Job chapter 38, and in verse 25, it says, who has divided a water course for the overflowing of water, or a way for the lightning of thunder? That's a peculiar verse and hard for us to understand. But I think the key for us is to realize God is in control. Man. Some of the things that take place, let's face it, well, I'll face it anyway. I'm not smart enough to understand how things operate and what God is trying to tell me most of the time. But we need to be aware that God is in control. The lightning, man cannot duplicate. The thunder, we might have a supersonic airplane fly over and we'll have break the sound barrier and we'll have a big crack of noise and so on and so forth, but nothing compared with what God has done and is able to do. You know, and it's amazing. I've had some thunder take place. Well, not I. I've been in situations where I felt the whole house shake. Has anybody ever felt that? And yet, amazing enough, the windows didn't fall out, or the foundation was still there, and the house was still standing. But the power of God and how He controls it is beyond our comprehension. I'll say it again. When we hear the thunder, when we see the lightning, we need to remember how great God is and that He is in control. I may, again, think that I've got some control over my life, but I have virtually no control over my life other than having the control, the control that God has given to me and guides me. I can go out there, using the analogy again of the water out in the parking lot. I can go out there all day long, and I could make a little terrarium, put a little plastic lid over it, and we might see moisture on top of the lid. The moisture would still be in there. But God is still working. And He's still able to control what goes on. We go back to Exodus 19. Exodus 19. Okay, 19 and verse 16. And it says that it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightning and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeded loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. Well, God got Moses' attention. And likewise, sometimes I think God is trying to get our attention. And but he got Moses' attention. If we go over to 2018 in Exodus, and all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mouth smoking, and when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. You know, God got the attention of all the people of Israel at that time. He got Moses' attention first, but he got all the attention. Sometimes he's trying to get our attention, and we need to be cognizant of the fact that he is active. You know, he didn't throw this world out in the sky and remove himself from it. He's still active. I thought of while I read this, the smoke in the mountains. Anybody been in the Appalachian Mountains, the Smoky Mountains? Have you been up on a ridge and looked down and saw the clouds below you and in the valleys? Pretty awesome fact. All control of God. You know, we might set a forest fire and see the smoke, but it will eventually burn itself out. If I was in the Smoky Mountains 40 years ago and went back today, I could still see the smoke in the mountains. How great God is. You know, I might not do it right now, but if Eugene would do it for me, if he'd run the aisle, we could just have a real swell time on pronouncing how great God is. So, any time, Eugene, you want to get up and go, I'll cheer you on. But he got the attention. God gets, and you know what? He aims to get our attention sometimes too. And I think this is a type of him when it thunders and lightning. You know, he may be speaking to us, to me personally. Going back to Psalms 19 or 18, Psalms 18. And verse 14. And this is a psalm of David, of him being delivered from his enemies. But I think there's something in here. Yea, he sent out his arrows and scattered them. Now, I'm not sure what kind of arrows God sent out, whether they were arrows of the army, and they found their targets, and the victory was won by the army of David, which was the army of God. And then it says, and he shot out lightnings and discomforted them. I'm not sure what that meant, but I do know one thing, that God is in control. Now, I've not been, I don't know if anybody else has been, but been in a battle, army battle or a military battle. But I guess the area that the battle was fought over has changed by the end of the battle. Maybe a lot of destruction, but I don't know how that relates to the lightning and the thunder, but there's a correspondence there of some sort that God, at the end of some of the battles, you see the lightning and thunder. And the thing to realize is, again, God is in control. In Psalm 77:18, 77:18, and it says, the voice of the thunder was in the heaven. Well, the voice speaks. In what way? Well, I'm not sure I understand all of it, but I think God is still speaking to us through the nature that we're involved in, through the thunder. The voice of the thunder is in the heaven. The lightning lighted the world, and the earth trembled and shook. The power of God is infinite. Again, I don't know why the earth hasn't been shaken out other than God controls it. But, I felt the earth shake before. You'd think that maybe it would go out of its course. But God still is able to control it and relate to it. Again, how great God is. He's an awesome God. And we should always think, when we hear the thunder and we see the lightning, that this is God's universe. He is in control. We think we're pretty powerful, but I went up there and put a little dot on the front board there that you couldn't see. That's how minute we are. Okay. And where does all this power come from? Let's turn to Revelation. We'll just about close it down here. Revelation chapter 4. Revelation chapter 4 and verse 5. And out of the throne, what throne are we talking about? The throne in heaven. Out of the throne proceeded lightning and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning above the throne. We'll stop at that point, but there's voices. Do we hear the voices? And I don't, like I say, understand much of what I'm talking about up here, so but what are the voices that we hear? Do we hear them? If they're coming from heaven, we certainly see the thunder, and see the lightning and hear the thunder. Do we hear the voices? Well, God may be speaking to us, and we're just not listening to Him. Well, I heard the buzzer, so you folks are saved by the buzzer.